Okay. You know, I always find it funny how Carlisle was always like, oh, it's, you know, south of the city, and then you pretty much walk out of the gate and, oh, here you are. How come nobody's found this place yet? Seems to stand out. Carlisle.
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah. What is this place?
This is the headquarters of the Nightingales, cut into the mountainside by the first of our kind. We've come to seek the edge we need to defeat Mercer Frey.
Edge? What type of edge are you hoping to gain? What could this place give us?
If you'll follow me, I'll try to explain on the way.
Hold on, Carlisle. You've held out on the details for a long time. I'm not going inside there until you come clean. Lay it all bare. Let's start with the Nightingales. What have you not told me about them?
Gallus, Mercer Frey and I were once members of what's known as the Nightingale Trinity. The Trinity disbanded 25 years ago when Mercer Frey betrayed us by slaying Gallus and dumping his body in the ruins of Snowvale Sanctum.
That means the Nightingales have to be part of the Thieves Guild, right?
Indirectly. The Trinity is usually selected from the ranks of the guild, although its existence is a closely guarded secret.
Guarded secret, eh? What's the purpose of the Trinity?
The Nightingales protect the Temple of Nocturnal, a place known as the Twilight Sepulchre.
And who exactly is Nocturnal to the Nightingales?
She's the mistress of night and darkness, and the patron of every thief in Tamriel.
Patron? Carlisle, I've never met a thief who worships anything more than the coin they can lift and carry.
Nocturnal isn't one for worship and reverence. There are no priests and no sermons, no services, and no alms. She influences our luck, and in return, demands payment.
Payment? You're making it sound a whole lot like a guild contract.
You're closer to understanding than you realize. The only difference is she doesn't demand payment in the traditional sense, and sometimes the cost can be quite high. Whether you know it or not, Nocturnal dictates how well we perform as rogues.
That's ridiculous, Carlisle. I wouldn't be standing here if it weren't for my skills, not some daedric blessing.
Again, you have to think differently. Haven't you ever noticed how our luck behaves? Like a novice picking an impossible lock, or a blind man suddenly turning to face you as you reach for his pocket. It's through these subtle means that Nocturnal influences us.
Yeah? Sounds a lot to me like a daedric lord just toying with us, watching us suffer for her own amusement.
Nocturnal's whim is the greatest mystery to everyone. There have been volumes written on the subject. Does she exact payment when we die? When we suffer, does she revel in our misery? No one knows. The return certainly seems worth the risk, though.
There's always a risk, Carlisle. Nocturnal is not the only daedric lord out there. I've dealt with many others. On a different topic, though, back in the guild hall, you agreed that Mercer needs to die. Whatever happened to your plan of capturing him alive, forcing him to watch everything around him crumble? Pure, proper, drawn-out, cold revenge. Have you given up on that?
From the moment you were struck with my poisoned arrow at Snowvale Sanctum, my path changed its course. Perhaps I couldn't bring Mercer back alive, but together, we were able to clear my name and to put Gallus's memory to rest. I'd always intended Mercer's fate to ultimately be decided by the guild, and it seems they've spoken.
I see. Well then, what's next? Am I to become a Nightingale like you?
It's my hope that you will, yes. This way, please.
Bryn?
I'm just as puzzled as you, lad.
None of this is making sense. Oh, walking slow enough there, Carlisle? Jeez. Actually, I might as well just hold down the walk button myself. I'm certain that they've got more to say. Anything?
So this is Nightingale Hall.
I heard about this place when I joined the guild, but I never believed it existed.
The assumption that the Nightingales were just a myth was seeded within the guild on purpose. It helped divert attention from our true nature. What's wrong, Brynjolf? I can almost hear your brow furrowing.
I'm trying to understand why I'm here, lass. I'm no priest, and I'm certainly not religious. Why pick me?
This isn't about religion, Brynjolf. It's business.
Oh, wonderful happy day. The moment in the game that everybody complains about over on Reddit. Whenever an NPC walks...
This is Nightingale Hall. You're the first of the uninitiated to set foot inside in over a century. Now, if you'll both proceed to the armory to don your Nightingale armor, we can begin the oath.
Time's wasted, and Mercer's still out there. Let's get this show on the road.
But yeah, the wonderful experience. NPCs that walk faster than you, but way slower than you run. And also take their time whenever you're waiting on them to get somewhere. I just want to get this over with. Go ahead and just put this on. There we go.
You appear ready for the oath.
Right,
Time's
I
wasting,
am.
and Mercer's still out there. Let's get this show on the road.
I'm ready, Brynjolf. It's just your move. Come on. I ain't got all night. I gotta admit, the Nightingale armor is pretty damn cool.
You appear ready for the oath.
Oh my god, okay.
You appear ready for the oath.
Alright, screw you. I'm not, I was trying to make it all dramatic and walk with you, but... Nope, that's not happening. I'll just wait for them to plod their way over to the other end of the tunnel and not stop every 2 or 3 seconds. I'm full of salt. I'm just full of salt about Skyrim today. I don't know why. It's probably because I know that I'm, like, this... There's more discussion in this episode. Like, there's no way around it. It's like I've spent, what, 5 minutes now? Just talking with them, and... well, here comes more of it.
Okay, lass. We've got these get-ups on. Now what?
Beyond this gate is the first step in becoming a Nightingale.
Whoa there, lass. I appreciate the armor, but becoming a Nightingale? That was never discussed.
To hold any hope of defeating Mercer, we must have Nocturnal at our backs. If she's to accept you as one of her own, an arrangement must be struck.
What sort of arrangement? I need to know the terms.
The terms are quite simple, Brynjolf. Nocturnal will allow you to become a Nightingale and use your abilities for whatever you wish. And in return, both in life and in death, you must serve as a guardian of the Twilight Sepulchre.
Aye, there's always a catch. But at this point, I suppose there isn't much to lose. If it means the end of Mercer Frey, you can count me in.
What about you? Are you ready to transact the oath with Nocturnal?
I'm not entirely certain that I understand the terms of the contract.
By transacting the oath with Nocturnal, you're entering into a business deal. You'll be provided all of the power and knowledge befitting a Nightingale. You're free to use those powers as you see fit, to further your own goals, or the goals of the Thieves' Guild.
Alright. But what does Nocturnal get in return? Power doesn't just come freely.
In return, you'll be required to defend the Twilight Sepulchre and everything within when the need arises. More importantly, upon your death, your spirit will be bound to the Twilight Sepulchre as one of its guardians.
And as a daedric contract, there's no going back on that.
Once the oath has been struck, the terms are binding. Knowing this, are you ready to undergo the ceremony?
Well, now that I understand better, yes, I am ready. Though I have to say, Nocturnal will have quite the fight on her hands whenever I die. I've worked with more than one daedric lord at this point. Who my soul belongs to is already contested. But that's her problem, not mine.
Good. After I open the gate, please stand on the circle.
Time's wasting, and Mercer's still out there. Let's get this show on the road.
We're gonna
I
start?
call upon you, Lady Nocturnal, Queen of Murk and Empress of Shadow. Hear my voice.
Ah, Carlia. I was wondering when I'd hear from you again. Lose something, did we?
My lady, I've come before you to throw myself upon your mercy and to accept responsibility for my failure.
You're already mine, Carlia. Your terms were struck long ago. What could you possibly offer me now?
I have two others that wish to transact the oath, to serve you both in life and in death.
You surprise me, Carlia. This offer is definitely weighted in my favor.
My appetite for Mercer's demise exceeds my craving for wealth, Your Grace.
Revenge. How interesting. Very well. The conditions are acceptable. You may proceed.
Lady Nocturnal, we accept your terms. We dedicate ourselves to you as both your avengers and your sentinels. We will honor our agreement in this life and the next until your conditions have been met.
Very well. I name your initiates Nightingale, and I restore your status to the same, Carlisle. And in the future, I'd suggest you refrain from disappointing me again.
That's it. Man, I've got to do that Crimson Nern request when I leave here.
Now that you've transacted the oath, it's time to reveal the final piece of the puzzle to you. Mercer's true crime.
I knew you were still holding something out. What haven't you told me until now? What exactly did Mercer do to desecrate this place? I'm betting that he stole something.
Mercer was able to unlock the Guild's vault without two keys because of what he stole from the Twilight Sepulchre. The skeleton key. By doing this, he's compromised our ties to Nocturnal, and in essence, caused our luck to run dry.
The skeleton key. I remember reading about that somewhere. It's a daedric artifact that allows you to open any lock. Of all the things for Mercer to do, he steals from a daedric lord. So he's been able to open any lock because he found the ultimate key.
Well, yes. But the key isn't only restricted to physical barriers. All of us possess untapped abilities, the potential to wield great power securely sealed within our minds. Once you realize the key can access these traits, potential becomes limitless.
So it doesn't just work on locks. It works on pretty much anything. You could probably move a wall with that thing, dispel magical barriers. No wonder it's the source of the Guild's luck. It's either a lot of power for one person, or it's a modest amount of power for everyone. Sounds a lot to me like it doesn't belong in one person's hands.
Good. Then you understand why this is about more than just Mercer's lust for power. If the key isn't returned to its lock in the Twilight Sepulchre, things will never be the same for the Guild. As time passed, our luck would diminish to the point of non-existence, and whether you know it or not, our uncanny luck defines our trade.
Well, this'll be the first time as a thief that I'm going to look to return something instead of take it.
Very true. In our line of work, it's quite rare we set out to return a stolen item to its rightful owner.
Well, now that we're clear on what we need to get done, let's get moving.
Before we depart, Brynjolf has some business to discuss. I suggest you listen to him.
Listen, lad. There's one last piece of business we need to settle before we go after Mercer. The leadership of the Guild.
That is something we need to take care of, Brynjolf, but what does it have to do with me?
Carlia and I had a long discussion before you arrived here. Thanks to your efforts, Mercer's treachery has been exposed. After we deal with him, all that remains is restoring the Guild to its full strength. As a result, we both feel that you have the potential of replacing Mercer as leader of the Thieves' Guild.
Me? Brynjolf, I'm flattered, but if anybody deserves the position, it's you. You've been running this game a lot longer than I have. You have far more experience, too. I've only been here for a couple of months.
I've been at this game a long time, my friend. A long time. I've stolen trinkets from nobles and framed priests for murder. I'm good at what I do. Maybe even one of the best. But it's all I know. I've never been one to lead. Never desired it, never cared for it. Don't want it.
I hardly know what to say, Brynjolf. If you're certain that you don't want the position...
Well, we have a bit of an errand to run before your coronation, so don't get sentimental on me now.
Right. We still have work to get done. But when the time is right, I'll accept the position.
Then it's decided. When this is all over and Delvin's contacts assure me that we've regained our footing in Skyrim, we'll handle the details. Until then, we have quite the task ahead.
Right. So where are we off to? Do we have any clue where Mercer even is?
I've been poring over the plans you brought us, and I'm convinced the eyes of the Falmer are in the Dwarven ruins at Erkenthan. Karlaya and I will meet you there. Prepare yourself, lad. This will be a fight to remember.
Indeed. But do you really think we had to become Nightingales to get this done? I mean, we outnumber Mercer 3-1.
If you would have asked me that yesterday, I'd have said no. But now I think our chances have improved. Look, call me crazy if you like, but I trust Karlaya. I don't think she'd lead us down a suicidal path. Besides, I'd rather die with some of Mercer's blood on my blade than spend the rest of my life regretting that I ran the other way.
I guess you do make a point. There's no going back on this anyhow. Deal is struck. We're all Nightingales.
Aye, and some of what Karlaya said is starting to make sense. Mercer may have damaged our reputation and raided our coffers, but this goes well beyond even his twisted form of larceny. Old Delvin kept calling it a curse, and we all laughed at him. Looks like the joke's on us.
Well, you know what they say. Live and learn. But enough about that. We need to get moving, Brynjolf. I'll meet you and Karlaya at Erkenthan. And be certain to take your armor off for the journey. Don't want to be giving away who you are to everybody that you pass on the road. Till we meet next, may Shadow hide you.
Until next we meet, lad.
Right. Time to finish that Crimson Nirnroot quest now.
Please, keep that magic away from me. We could always use help picking crops if you need a few extra coins.
I would like to help, but... Listen, I know that this will be very sudden, but I'm an adventurer, and during my journey, I found the remains of a man named Sinderion. He mentioned you in his journal. I thought you should know.
I knew this day would eventually come. At least poor Sinderion died doing what he loved. His field research. I told the old fool he should take it easy, but he was too stubborn. Perhaps someday I'll continue where he left off. It's the least I can do, considering how much he did for me.
Speaking of which, he mentioned you in his journal more than once. And given the farm that you're running here, I imagine that you're an alchemist.
I used to be. There isn't much time for that in my life anymore, I'm afraid. I actually owned a shop in Vivec City long ago, but I had to leave all that behind when the Red Mountain erupted. Perhaps someday I'll reopen a shop here in Skyrim.
Maybe I could help you with that. I didn't come seeking you out just because of what happened to Sinderion. It's also because of what he was doing whenever he passed away. He went searching for an underground cave system. It's called Blackreach. He had come to understand that there was a special version of the Nirnroot growing down there. A subterranean variant called the Crimson Nirnroot. He passed away before he could find enough samples. But I finished the work that he started. And you seem the most appropriate person to do the research on them. After all, with Sinderion gone, you're now the foremost expert on Nirnroot.
You gathered quite a few of them, I see. I'll search through Sinderion's notes and find some more information about the Crimson Nirnroot and its properties.
Here. These are all of the samples that I found.
Thank you. You've done alchemy a great service by helping to complete Sinderion's work. I'd like to give you this tome. It's one of Sinderion's greatest works. I believe you've more than earned it.
Thank you. Before I go, Avrusa, I'm very curious. While I was down in Blackreach, I read through Sinderion's journal. It's what brought me to you. But amongst all of the mentions that he had of you, he never said anything about how you two met.
When I was very young, I was sent to Skingrad in Cyrodiil to study with him. He was a strange Altmer. Paid more attention to his research than his own well-being. He lived in the basement of an inn, for goodness sakes.
How did he go from living in the basement of an inn to being in Skyrim? Well, I mean, what did he tell you, at least?
Well, after I fled Morrowind during the eruption, I made my way here. My family had purchased this farm, and it's all we had left. Years later, Sinderion simply showed up at our doorstep asking to stay for a while. Said he was going to do field research. He stayed with us for decades. Became an uncle of sorts to Adori.
And then I imagine just as suddenly he up and left for Blackreach one day.
One day he simply ran out to me in the field, excited that he'd made some sort of a breakthrough, and he was going to head out on another trip. He never returned. From the journal you discovered, I'm sure you know the rest.
Yeah. Sad end for such a great alchemist. It's been a pleasure talking with you, Avrusa. I wish you the best, but I'm a busy man and I need to be on my way. May Azura guide you.
Back to work.
Alright. Time to move on to whatever that dwarven ruin was. Where the heck did this stiff come from? Oh, one hell of a chatty episode today, I guess. Alright, off to take care of the business with the Thieves Guild. Mercer will not last much longer. Rest assured.